and the Apsaras, the most beautiful women in the universe, were generated. Then the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, appeared. The demigods, great sages, Gandharvas, and others offered her their respectful worship. The goddess of fortune could not find anyone to accept as her husband. At last, she selected Lord Vishnu to be her husband. Well, that's the best choice. Lord Vishnu gave her a place to stay everlastingly at his chest. Because of this combination of Lakshmi and Narayana, all who were present, included the demigods and people in general, were very pleased. The demons, however, being neglected by the goddess of fortune, were very depressed. Then Varuni, the goddess of drinking, was generated, and by the order of Lord Krishna, the demons accepted her. Then the demons and demigods, with renewed energy, began to churn again. This time, a partial incarnation of Lord Vishnu called Dhanvantari appeared. He was very beautiful, and he carried a jug containing nectar. The demons immediately snatched the jug from Dhanvantari's hand and began to run away, and the demigods, being very morose, took shelter of Vishnu. After the demons snatched the jug from Dhanvantari, they began to fight among themselves. Well, that's normal. Lord Vishnu solaced the demigods, who therefore did not fight, but remained silent. While the fighting was going on among the demons, the Lord himself appeared as the incarnation Mohini, the most beautiful woman in the universe. Well, obviously, the demons are going to be completely enamored by her. Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami continued. Upon Lord Shiva's drinking the poison, both the demigods and the demons, being very pleased, began to churn the ocean with renewed vigor. As a result of this, there appeared a cow known as Surabi, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Surabi cow is described as Haridani, the source of butter. Butter, when clarified by melting, produces ghee, or clarified butter, which is inevitably necessary for performing great ritualistic sacrifices. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.5, Yajna Dana Tapa Karma Na Tyajam Yam Evatat. Sacrifice, charity, and austerity are essential to keep human society perfect in peace and prosperity. Yajna, the performance of sacrifice, is essential to perform yajnas. Is essential to perform yajna. Clarified butter is absolutely necessary, and to get clarified butter, milk is necessary. Milk is produced when there are sufficient cows. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 18:44, cow protection is recommended. Krishna go raksha varijam vaishya karma swabhavajam. Okay, it's very important to have cows. We have cows also. And it's also important to have butter and to do performances of the different ceremonies that are necessary to do in Krishna consciousness. Text number 2. King Parikshit, great sages, O King Parikshit, great sages who were completely aware of the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies took charge of that Surabhi cow, which produced all the yogurt, milk, and ghee absolutely necessary for offering oblations into the fire. They did this just for the sake of pure ghee, which they wanted for the performance of sacrifices to elevate themselves to the higher planetary systems, up to Brahmaloka. Now you see why it's very important to have pure cows and pure ghee. Purport: Surabi cows are generally found on the Vaikuntha planets, as described in Brahma Samhita. Lord Krishna on his planet, the Loka Vrindavan, engages in tending the Surabi cow. Surabir Abhipalanantam. These cows are the Lord's pet animals. From the Surabi cows, one can take as much milk as one needs, and one may milk these cows as many times as he desires. In other words, the Surabi cow can yield milk unlimitedly. Milk is necessary for the performance of yoga. Sages know how to use milk to elevate human society for the perfection of life. Since cow protection is recommended everywhere in the Shastras, the Brahmavadis took charge of Surabi cow, in which the demons were not very interested. Yeah, and they don't want to study cow. They're interested in sinful things. Text 3. Thereafter, a horse named Uchasraiva, which was as white as the moon, was generated. Bali Maharaj desired to possess this horse, and Indra, the king of heaven, did not protest, for he had previously been so advised by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have to go to India uh, when the Brahmanas performed sacrifices. They have a beautiful white cow. And they have not only the cow, they have other animals also that come to be part of the sacrifice. They're not sacrificed, but they're present so that everything is done properly in the puja. Thereafter, the horse named Uchasrava, which was as white as the moon, was generated. Bali Maharaj desired to possess this horse, and Indra, the king of heaven, did not protest, for he had previously been so advised by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 4. As the next result of the churning, the king of elephants, named Airavata, was generated. This elephant was white, and with its 4 tusks, it defied the glories of Kailasha. It defied the glories of Kailasha mountain, the glorious abode of Lord Shiva. Text number 5. Thereafter, O king, 8 great elephants, which could go in any direction, were generated. They were headed by Airavana. 8 she-elephants headed by Abramu were also generated. Purport: the names of the 8 elephants were Airavana, Kundarika, Vamana, Kumuda, Anjana, Pushpadanta, Sarvabhauma, and Supratika. Text number 6. Generated thereafter from the great ocean were the celebrated gems, Kostubamani and Padmaraga, money. Lord Vishnu, to decorate his chest, desired to possess them. Generated next was the Parijanta flower. which decorates the celestial planets. O king, as you fulfill the desires for everyone on this giant, by fulfilling all ambitions, the Parijata fulfills the desires of everyone. Text 7. Next, there appeared the Apsaras, who are used as prostitutes on the heavenly planet. They were fully decorated with golden ornaments and lockets and were dressed in fine and attractive clothing. The Apsaras move very slowly in an attractive style that bewilders the inhabitants of the heavenly planets. Text number 8. Then there appeared the goddess of fortune, Rama, who is absolutely dedicated to being enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She appeared like electricity, surpassing the lightning that might illuminate a marble mountain. Wow, just imagine that. As surpassing the lightning that might illuminate a marble mountain. Purport. Shri means opulence. Krishna is the owner of all opulence. Bhaktaram yagitapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram srihitam sarvabhutanam yatpamam siddhapichati. This peace formula for the work, this three-piece formula for the world is given in Bhagavad Gita 5.29. When people know that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the most intimate, well-wishing friend of all living entities, peace and prosperity will ensue all over the world. Unfortunately, the conditioned souls, being placed into illusion by the external energy of the Lord, want to fight with one another, and therefore peace is disturbed. The first prerequisite for peace is that all the wealth presented by Shri, the goddess of fortune, be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone should give up his false proprietorship over worldly possessions and offer everything to Krishna. This is the teaching of the Krishna consciousness movement. Now we know what is the teaching of the Krishna consciousness movement. We should offer everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Text number 9. Because of her exquisite beauty, her bodily features, her youth, her complexion, and her glories, everyone, including the demigods, the demons, and the human beings, desired her. They were attracted because she is the source of all opulences. Just imagine how beautiful she is. Purport. Who in this world does not want to possess wealth, beauty, and the social respectability that come from these opulences? That's a question. People generally desire material enjoyment, material opulence, and the association of aristocratic family members. Bhogaisvaya prasaktanam. Material enjoyment entails money, beauty, and the reputation they bring, which can all be achieved by the mercy of the goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune, however, never remains alone, as indicated in the previous verse by the word Bhagavat Hara. She is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is enjoyable only by him. If one wants the favor of the goddess of fortune, Mother Lakshmi, because she is by nature Bhagavat Hara, one must keep her with Narayana. The devotees who always engage in the service of Narayana, Parayana, can easily achieve the favor of the goddess of fortune without a doubt. But materialists who try to get the favor of the goddess of fortune only to possess her for personal enjoyment are frustrated. Yeah, because she doesn't want to be separated from her husband. But the nonsense sense gratifier, they only want her and they avoid her husband. That, of course, is a big mistake. The devotees who always engage in the service of Narayana, Parayana, can easily achieve the favor of the goddess of fortune without a doubt. But materialists who try to get the favor of the goddess of fortune only to possess her for personal enjoyment are frustrated. Theirs is not a good policy. The celebrated demon Ravana, for example, wanted to deprive Ramachandra of Lakshmi, Sita, and thus he
This B.
and thus be victorious. But the result was just the opposite. Sita, of course, was taken by force by Lord Ramachandra, and Ravana and his entire material empire were vanquished. The goddess of fortune is desirable for everyone, including human beings, but one should understand that the goddess of fortune is the exclusive property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot achieve the mercy of the goddess of fortune unless one prays both to her and to the Supreme Enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. Yeah, so Ravana, he kidnapped Sita Devi, thinking that he would become very powerful by owning her. But without her husband being there, she becomes dangerous. She doesn't want to be usurped by a demon, and therefore Ravana was completely destroyed. Text 10. The kingdom of heaven, Indra, brought a suitable sitting place for the goddess of fortune. All the rivers of sacred water, such as the Ganges and Yamuna, personified themselves. That means they took form of living human beings, and each of them brought pure water in golden water pots from Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. The land became a person and collected all the drugs and herbs needed for installing the wheel. The cow delivered 5 products, namely milk, yogurt, ghee, urine, and cow dung. And spring personified did everything produced in spring during the months of Chaitra and Vaisakha, April and May. Purport. Panchagava, the 5 products received from the cow, namely milk, yogurt, ghee, cow dung, and cow urine, are required in all ritualistic ceremonies performed according to the Vedic directions. Cow urine and cow dung are uncontaminated, and since even the urine and dung of a cow are important, we can just imagine how important this animal is for human civilization. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, directly advocates Goraksha, the protection of cows. Civilized men who follow the system of Varnasrama, especially those of the Vaishya class, who engage in agriculture and trade, must give protection to the cow. Unfortunately, because people in Kali Yuga are manda, meaning all dead, and sumanda, mataya, misled by false conceptions of life. They're killing cows in the thousands. Therefore, they are unfortunate in spiritual consciousness, and nature disturbs them in so many ways, especially through incurable diseases like cancer and through frequent wars and among nations. All as long as human society continues to allow cows to be regularly killed in slaughterhouses, there cannot be any question of peace and prosperity. Now we know why there's so much cancer and other terrible diseases, incurable diseases like cancer, because cows are being killed and they're not being worshipped. Rather than worshiping them, people are eating them. See how stupid people are. Of course, anybody who reads this, they think there's something wrong here. Why let's say, protection and so much information is given about cows? But cows are very important because Krishna loves cows, and he has cows around him all the time. He takes them to pasture every morning and plays with them and feeds them and loves them all day long, and then brings them back again. So if anybody in any way injures or hurts a cow, it's very sinful. And the worst thing is to kill a cow and eat it. That's the dumbest thing people can do. But yet, every year, hundreds and thousands of cows are being killed to be eaten by the demons. That's why there's so much trouble in this world. The great sages performed the bathing ceremony of the goddess of fortune, as directed in the authorized scriptures. The Gandharvas chanted all auspicious Vedic mantras, and the professional women dancers very nicely danced and sang authorized songs prescribed in the Vedas. Yeah, we don't dance movie star uh, or professional movie people and the songs that they sing. We only sing bona fide song of Vaishnava Acharyas. The next, it's 13 people. The clouds in personified form beat various types of drums, known as mridangas, panavas, murajas, and anakas. They also blew conchos and bugles known as gomukas and played flutes and stringed instruments. The combined sound of these instruments was tumultuous. Text 14. Thereafter, the great elephant from all the directions carried big water jugs full of Ganges water and bathed the goddess of fortune to the accompaniment of Vedic mantras chanted by learned Brahmins. While thus being bathed, the goddess of fortune maintained her original style with a lotus flower in her hand, and she appeared very beautiful. The goddess of fortune is the most chaste, for she does not know anyone but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, is described in this verse as Shriyam, which means that she has 6 opulences: wealth, strength, influence, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. These opulences are received from the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Lakshmi is addressed here as Devi, the goddess, because in Vaikuntha she supplies all opulences to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, who in this way enjoy natural life in the Vaikuntha planets. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with his consort, the goddess of fortune, who carries a lotus flower in her hands. Mother Lakshmi is described in this verse as Sati, the supremely chaste, because she never diverts her attention from the Supreme Personality of Godhead to anyone else. Okay, that's wonderful. That's a genuine woman who is totally surrendered to her husband. Text 15. The ocean, which is the source of all valuable jewels, supplied the upper and lower portions of a yellow silken garment. The predominating deity of the water, Varuna, presented flower girl and surrounded by six-legged bumblebees, drunken with honey. Purport: when bathing the deity in the Abhisheka ceremony and various liquids, such as milk, honey, yogurt, ghee, cow dung, and cow urine, it is customary to supply yellow garments. In this way, the Abhisheka ceremony for the goddess of fortune was performed according to the regular Vedic principles. We should ask our pujaris if they use only yellow garments.
Yeah, they use yellow garments.
Purport: when bathing the deity in the Abhisheka ceremony with various liquids, such as milk, honey, yogurt, ghee, cow dung, and cow urine, it is customary to supply yellow garments. In this way, the Abhisheka ceremony for the goddess of fortune was performed according to the regular Vedic principles. It's number 16. So we're reading from Canto 8, Chapter 8, text number 16. Vishwakarma, one of the Prajapati, supplied varieties of decorated ornaments. The goddess of learning, Saraswati, supplied a necklace. Lord Brahma supplied a lotus flower, and the inhabitants of Naga Loka supplied earrings. Oh, that's nice. Text 17. Thereafter, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, having been properly celebrated with an auspicious ritualistic ceremony, began moving about, holding in her hand a garland of lotus flowers, which were surrounded by humming bumblebees. Smiling with shyness, her cheeks decorated by her earrings, she looked extremely beautiful. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The goddess of fortune, Mother Lakshmi, accepted the ocean of milk as her father, but she perpetually rests on the bosom of Narayana. She offers benedictions even to Lord Brahma and other living entities in this material world. Yet she is transcendental to all material qualities. Although she appeared to have been born of the ocean of earth, she immediately resorted to her eternal place on the bosom of Narayana. She put her head on the
Chest.
right here,
Chest.
the chest of the Lord. Text 15. The ocean, which is the source of all valuable jewels, supplied the upper and lower portion of a yellow silken garment.
No, I think it should be on 18, right?
Huh?
Text 18.
Text 18.
Yeah, we should be on text 18 now.
In other words, I
Finished.
went back,
Yeah, yeah.
text 18. Text 18.
Yes. We completed 17 just now.
Her two breasts, which were symmetrical and nicely situated, were covered with sandalwood pulp and kumkuma powder, and her waist was very thin as she walked here and there, her ankle bells jingling softly. She appeared like a creeper of gold. Text 19. While walking among the Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, Siddhas, Charanas, and denizens of heaven, Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, was scrutinizingly examining them, but she could not find anyone naturally endowed with all good qualities. None of them were devoid of faults, and therefore she could not take shelter of any of them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, having been generated from the ocean of milk, was the daughter of the ocean. Thus, she was allowed to select her own husband in a Swainam Vara ceremony. She examined every one of the candidates, but she could not find anyone suitably qualified to be her shelter. In other words, Narayana, the natural husband of Lakshmi, cannot be superseded by anyone in this material world. Text number 20. The goddess of Booths, examining the assembly, thought in this way: someone who has undergone great austerity has not yet conquered anger. Someone possesses knowledge, but he has not conquered material desires. Someone is a very great personality, but he cannot conquer lusty desires. Even a great personality depends on something else. How then can he be the supreme controller? Very good question. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here is an attempt to find the supreme controller for Ishvara. Everyone may be accepted as an Ishvara or controller, but still, such controllers are controlled by others. For example, one may have undergone severe austerity, but still be under the control of anger. By a scrutinizing analysis, we find that everyone is controlled by something else. No one, therefore, can be the true controller, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. This is supported by the Shastras. Ishvara Parama Krishna. The supreme controller is Krishna. Krishna is never controlled by anyone, for he is the controller of everything. Sarva Karana Karana. Text number 21. Someone may possess full knowledge of religion, but still not be kind to all living beings. In someone, whether human or demigod, there may be renunciation, but that is not the cause of liberation. Someone may possess great power and yet be unable to check the power of eternal time. Someone else may have renounced attachment to the material world, yet he cannot compare to the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, no one is completely freed from the influence of the material modes of nature. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The statement Dharma Kvachit Tatra Na Bhuta Sarvhidam is very important in this verse. We actually see that there are many Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and religionists of other cults who adhere to their religious principles very nicely, but are not equal to all living entities. Indeed, although they profess to be very religious, they kill poor animals. Such religion has no meaning. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.8 says, Dharma sanastita kunsa visvaksena katasya natpadayed yadiratim shama eva hikevam. One may be very expert in following the religious principles of his own sect, but if he has no tendency to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his observance of religious principles is simply a waste of time. One must develop a sense of loving Vasudeva. Vasudeva Savamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. The sign of a devotee is that he is a friend to everyone. Sukhidam Sarvabhutanam. A devotee will never allow a poor animal to be killed in the name of religion. This is the difference between a superficially religious person and a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We find that there have been many great heroes in history, but they could not escape from the cruel hands of death. Even the greatest hero cannot escape from the ruling power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead when Krishna comes as death. That is described by Krishna himself. Mrityu Sarvaharashcha'am. The Lord appearing as death takes away a hero's so-called power. Even Hiranyakashipu could not be saved when Nrsingadeva appeared before him as death. One's material strength is nothing before the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 22. Did I
Yeah,
go to the next one?
Yeah.
22.
We're on text 21.
We just
22.
finished. We are at 22 now.
23 or 22?
22.
Someone may have longevity, but not have auspiciousness or good behavior. Someone may have both auspiciousness and good behavior, but the duration of his life is not fixed. Although such demigods as Lord Shiva have eternal life, they have inauspicious habits, like living in crematoriums. And even if others are well qualified in all respects, they are not devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. That just proves how rare it is to meet a genuine devotee of the Lord. Text 23. Sukadeva Goswami continued in this way. After full deliberation, the goddess of fortune accepted Mukunda as her husband, because although he is independent and not in want of her, he possesses all transcendental qualities and mystic powers and is therefore the most desirable. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda is self-sufficient. Since he is fully independent, he was not in want of the support or association of Lakshmi Devi. Nonetheless, Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, accepted him as her husband. Although he's not going to do anything for her. And by the way, people worship Lakshmi Devi to have opulence, but she doesn't have any opulence herself. She doesn't have her husband doesn't give her a house. nothing, doesn't do anything for her. But yet, she's always surrendered to her husband. Okay, so approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the goddess of fortune, placed upon his shoulders the garland of newly grown lotus flowers, which was surrounded by humming bumblebees, searching for honey. Then, expecting to get a place on the bosom of the Lord, she remained standing by his side, her face smiling in shyness. Well, no, most people would be, especially ladies, be running away because the bumblebees are there also. Approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the goddess of fortune placed upon his shoulders the garland of newly grown lotus flowers, which was surrounded by humming bumblebees. You see, searching for honey. Then, expecting to get a place on the bosom of the Lord, she remained standing by his side, her face smiling in shyness. Well, see, that's the way women should be. They should have this ability to remain in shyness. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Father of the three worlds, and his bosom is the residence of Mother Love, the goddess of fortune, the proprietor of all opulences. The goddess of fortune, by her favorable and merciful glance, can increase the opulence of the three worlds, along with their inhabitants and their directors, the demigods. Purport. You see how important women are. And so they're like the goddess of fortune, who is also the proprietor of all opulence. The goddess of fortune, by her favorable and merciful glance, can increase the opulence of the three worlds, along with their inhabitants and their directors, the demigods. Just see how important the Lakshmi is. And in general, women. Purport. According to the desire of Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, the Supreme Personality of Godhead made his bosom her residence, so that by her glance she could favor everyone, including the demigods and ordinary human beings. In other words, since the goddess of fortune stays on the bosom of Narayana, she naturally sees any devotee who worships Narayana. When the goddess of fortune understands that a devotee is in favor of devotional service to Narayana, she is naturally inclined to bless the devotee with all opulences. The karmis try to receive the favor and mercy of Lakshmi, but because they are not devotees of Narayana, their opulence is flickering. In other words, it's not steady, it's coming and going. The opulence of devotees who are attached to the service of Narayana is not like the opulence of karmis. The opulence of devotees is as permanent as the opulence of Narayana himself. Wow. Okay. So, we should always be steady in our devotional service, not be wishy-washy. Sometimes following rules and regulations, sometimes ignoring them, and so forth. That's you won't get the real mercy of the Lord by doing anything like that. One must be always surrendered to the Lord, because the Lord is the witness of everything we do. Anything we do, Krishna is there with us as our, what you would call, friend. But unfortunately, there are many people that ignore that. The inhabitants of Gandharvaloka and Charanaloka then took the opportunity to play their musical instruments, such as conch shells, bugles, and drums. They began dancing and singing along with their wives. Text 27. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the great sage Angira, and similar directors of universal management showered flowers and chanted mantras, indicating the transcendental glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the demigods, along with the Prajapatis and their descendants, being blessed by Lakshmi's glance upon them, were immediately enriched with good favor and transcendental qualities. Thus, they were very much satisfied. 629. O king, because of being neglected by the goddess of fortune, the demons and Rakshasas were depressed, bewildered, and frustrated, and thus they became shameless. Uh-oh. Next appeared Varuni, the lotus-eyed goddess, who controls drunkards with the permission of the Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna. The demons, headed by Bali Maharaj, took possession of this young girl. Text 31. O king, thereafter, while the sons of Kashyapa, both demons and demigods, were engaged in churning the ocean of milk, a very wonderful male person appeared. He was strongly built. His arms were long, stout, and strong. His neck, which was marked with 3 lines, resembled a conch shell. His eyes were reddish, and his complexion was blackish. He was very young. He was garlanded with flowers, and his entire body was fully decorated with various ornaments. Now, you see, if some black person reads this, he becomes very happy. Let's see, gotta see, we're the ones that are really, connected. You white people, you got some kind of cancer, but we're completely close to God. Text 33. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore a brightly polished beard made of pearls. The tips of his hair were anointed with oil, and his chest was very broad. His body had all good features. He was stout and strong, like a lion, and he was decorated with bangles. In his hand, he carried a jug filled to the top with nectar. This person was Dhanvantari, the plenary portion of Lord Krishna. He was very conversant with the science of medicine, and as one of the demigods, he was permitted to take a share in sacrifice. Sri Madhavacharya remarks, Tesam Satyach Jalan Nartam Harir Danvan Tarir Vibhu Smarto P Asuram Tu Sva Hastad Amuchat Sudam. Dhanvantari, who was carrying the jug containing the nectar, was a plenary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But although he was very strong, the Asuras were able to take the jug of nectar from his hands. Okay, now things get really interesting. Text 35. Upon seeing Dhanvantari carrying the jug of nectar, the demons, desiring the jug and its contents, immediately snatched it away by force. Text 36. When the jug of nectar was carried off by the demons, the demigods were morose. Thus they sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. You see, whenever there's big trouble, devotees always turn to Krishna. Text 37. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always desires to fulfill the ambitions of his devotees, saw that the demigods were morose, he said to them, "Do not be aggrieved. By my own energy, I shall bewilder the demons by creating a quarrel among them. In this way, I shall fulfill your desire to have the nectar." And now we know why there are wars and there are arguments in families and things like that. It's caused by the demigods because the people are not acting properly. 38. O king, a quarrel then arose among the demons over who would get the nectar first. Each of them said, "You cannot drink it first. I must drink it first. Me first, not you." Me first, not you. Purport. This is the symptom of demons. The first concern of a non-devotee is how to enjoy his personal sense gratification at once, whereas the devotee's first concern is to satisfy the Lord. This is the distinction between the non-devotee and the devotee. In this material world, since most people are non-devotees, they regularly compete, fight, disagree, and war among themselves. For everyone wants to enjoy and satisfy his own senses. Therefore, unless such demons become Krishna conscious and are trained to satisfy the senses of the Lord, there can be no question of peace in human society or any society, even that of the demigod. Demigods and devotees, however, always surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus the Lord always anxious to satisfy their ambitions, while the demons fight to satisfy their own senses. Devotees engage in devotional service to satisfy the senses of the Lord. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be alert in regard to this point. And then their preaching of the Krishna consciousness movement will be successful. In other words, if our devotees are fighting with each other, going to, let's say, having lawyers and fighting with each other, that means that they're going crazy and they're not really understanding what it means to be a devotee. That's why it says here, while the demons fight to satisfy their own senses, devotees engage in devotional service to satisfy the senses of the Lord. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be alert in regard to this point. And then their preaching of the Krishna consciousness movement will be successful. Yeah, the devotees start arguing with each other, they're no different than karmas, and they will not be able to engage in devotional service in a proper way. They'll be fighting this time. And that does happen. Some of the demons said, all the demigods have taken part in churning the ocean of milk. Now, as everyone has an equal right to partake in any public place, according to the eternal religious system, it is befitting that the demigods now have a share of the nectar. O king, in this way, the weaker demons forbade the stronger demons to take the nectar. Purport. Desiring to take the nectar, those among the demons who were less strong spoke in favor of the demigod. The weaker Daitya naturally pleaded on behalf of the demigod to stop the stronger Daityas from drinking the nectar without sharing it. In this way, disagreement and trouble arose as they forbade one another to drink the nectar.
It's very interesting.
That's very important. Very, very important to understand what's being said here. This happens all the time, because of jealousy. Even there can be big arguments between family members, and they can do things to uh, stop their family members from making advancement materially or spiritually because of their jealous nature. So that's why it says, in this way, disagreement and trouble arose as they forbade one another to drink the nectar. Well, who's going to drink the nectar? Okay, we're going to find out. They're coming.
It's about 7:40. Yeah,
Overtime?
Yeah.
Should we stop there?
it's your desire. What do you want to?
My desire.
Just one more, there's one more master.
Yeah, just one
Maharaj.
more.
Yeah,
Oh, that's it. Okay, yeah.
The Supreme Personality God of Vishnu, who can counteract any unfavorable situation, then assume the form of an externally beautiful
Extremely.
then assume the form of an extremely beautiful woman. This incarnation as a woman, Mohini Murti, was most pleasing to the mind. Her complexion resembled in color a newly grown blackish lotus, and every part of her body was beautifully situated. Her ears were equally decorated with earrings. Her cheeks were very beautiful. Her nose was raised, and her face full of youthful luster. Her large breasts made her waist seem very thin. Attracted by the aroma of her face and body, bumblebees hummed around her, and thus her eyes were rested. Her hair, which was extremely beautiful, was garlanded with malika flowers. Her attractively constructed neck was decorated with a necklace and other ornaments. Her arms were decorated with bangles. Her body was covered with a clean sari, and her breasts seemed like islands in an ocean of beauty. Her legs were decorated with ankle bells because of the movements of her eyebrows as she smiled with shyness and glanced over the demons. All the demons were saturated with lusty desires, and every one of them desired to possess her. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Because of the Supreme Lord's assuming the form of a beautiful woman to arouse the lusty desires of the demons, a description of her complete beauty is given here. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, chapter of the 8th canto, chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Churning of the Milk Ocean. Well, you see, many times we're hearing how the bumblebees are around the women. Now, if there's a bumblebee here, all the women be, completely, frightened. But it seems that there are always going to be bumblebees around the women and, of course, the men. So we shouldn't be afraid. We should just chant Hare Krishna. Okay, so I think we're ending now, right?
Yeah.
Where's the Srila Prabhupada? Any questions? Any questions or comments?
So, Maharaj, today is also the initiation ceremony. So all the new aspiring as well as second initiates, they're here. So you want to speak anything to them based on today's?
Don't be afraid of bumblebees. Well, it's a very auspicious thing to desire to be initiated by Vaishnava and make genuine advancement in your spiritual life. Why? Because if you become initiated, you take vows. Those vows that you take identify who you are for the rest of your life. So it's very important to see how serious it is to be initiated. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something to be happy in order to make spiritual advancement in your life. The bona fide gurus are not here to take advantage of the disciples. They're here to help the disciples make spiritual advancement and be happy. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, you look at the devotees today, he would say, are you happy? And sometimes there would be one person who would say, no, I'm not happy. And Prabhupada would say, that is not possible. If you're a Krishna conscious, you must be happy. So, how do we become happy? It's by following all the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness and associating with devotees who actually follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. So if you're in the association of good devotees, you'll be happy. If you're in association of loose devotees, it's not sure you're going to be completely happy. There'll be some problems. So you should always avoid, obviously, the association of non-devotees and even the association of loose devotees. Loose devotees means they're not always following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. So we should take an oath, and actually we do. When you get initiated, you have to agree to follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and always chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then there are other things also besides that, but those are the big ticket points. But there are other things also that we have to follow, like chanting our rounds, going to bed early, waking up early, bathing regularly, and so forth. So many things that we have to do, not voluntarily, but by the fact that it's mandated if one is going to be a genuine devotee. Okay, so are there any questions? Anyone would like to ask? Yes.
Harivilas Maharaj,
Hari.
can you elaborate on the significance of hearing from spiritual master?
Sure, yeah. The bona fide spiritual master is only going to talk about Krishna. He's not going to talk about the car that he has, the mundane things of life. It's serious. The bona fide spiritual master always talking about Krishna. That was Prabhupada. He never was talking about mundane things. He was always talking about how to become Krishna conscious, how to expand the Hare Krishna movement, how to make things better for the devotees so that they are happy. So Prabhupada was very concerned that devotees should be happy. So, in that way, spiritual master is like a father who gives special attention to his children. That is the relationship between guru and disciple. So, the guru has knowledge, and if the disciple is surrendered, then the guru blesses the disciple with knowledge. Now, there's not only one guru. In Krishna consciousness, we have many gurus, but a bona fide guru. So we can, it's not that you say, well, I only listen to what my gurus, I'm not interested in what the guru say. No. There's so many bona fide gurus in Krishna consciousness, we should respect all of them. But we should be very careful not to violate any of the rules and regulations, especially if you're initiated. Because if you're initiated, there are different things that happen if you violate the rules and regulations. The first thing that happens is that your guru suffers. And therefore, you cause great havoc in the life of the guru who agrees to accept you as a disciple, and he'll ask you, what are the rules and regulations? You say, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and always chant Hare Krishna. Well, that's a vow that you take. If you break that vow, you might think, well, it's not so serious, so I can just not do this or not do that. But the person that suffers more than you is the guru, because he has accepted you as a disciple and you have promised to follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. If you don't, the guru is responsible for those deviations that you might engage in. And he cannot go further in his spiritual life also, because he's bound to help you go back to Godhead. So you have to be careful. The guru has to be careful, and the disciple has to be careful. Okay, I'll stop right there. Any other questions? What? Any other questions or comments? If not, I think we'll stop right there. It looks like it's a nice day today.
Very well.
Chant Hare Krishna.
Hare.
So I'm going to chant now.
Hare.
Because I want to be happy.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
I had an observation, Maharaj. I think you read that today. It shows what we see in the real world. Because if devotees have opulence, they're always trying to please the Lord with the opulence. Whereas if non-devotees have opulence, then they're always trying to protect it for themselves. They're always like, for me and not you. Because that is what we see in the real world right now. Why we have so much hate and intolerance and fighting, in spite of being so much
Jealousy,
wealth. Yes,
jealousy.
yeah. In spite of having so much wealth in the world.
Well, see, that's actually sinful. If you die and you have like $4 billion in the bank, you're a very sinful person. All that money should be used in the service of Krishna before you die. But nowadays, there are people that when they die, they have millions and millions of dollars in the bank. that means that they're going to suffer terribly. It's happier to share wealth with others and not hoard money. Hoarding money is sinful. Sharing money means that you are a benevolent person, and Krishna likes that. But Krishna doesn't like the people that hoard money, because it is sinful to do that. Because the money that you hoard, it's by denying other people to have money. Just like someone is a multimillionaire, that means there are people that are going to suffer because that millions of dollars that you have make the other people poor. So therefore, if you do have a lot of money, you should use it all in service of Krishna. That way, no one will hate you. They'll be very happy that you are such a generous person. And anyway, we don't need a lot of money. What we need is a lot of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's what we need. The more Hare Krishna Mahamantra you have, the more rich your family becomes, which means you're rich in devotional service. That is a type of richness. Devotional service is a type of richness. But it's not hoarding things and being jealous or envious of others. It's distributing them to benefit everyone. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, one question, Maharaj. So before you die, because some people, they might give their money to their kids.
Yeah.
That is also hoarding money, Maharaj, or is it only if you just have it in your bank account?
Well, look, you have to be generous with everybody, not just your kids. Otherwise, your kids are going to be like you. They will only, be generous to their kids. Right? So now you have a whole culture of hoarding money to your family. No, we should be very generous. The most generous thing to do is to give Krishna prasadam to people. Okay? And also, along with the prasadam, to give them some knowledge about Krishna. That means that you're a genuine person. You're not sort of selfish. You're willing to share whatever you have, and not just food, but share also in wisdom that you've learned in Krishna consciousness. And you help others also to become cognizant of Krishna conscious wisdom, how to live a spiritual life. That's what we should be concerned about, of people learning from us how to be Krishna conscious and have a spiritual life. There are some people that are waiting and praying to God, please send someone that will teach me how to be a devotee. In other words, they might not say the word devotee, but they're suffering because they don't have good association. So when they meet a genuine devotee, they become very happy because their prayer has been answered. I know that happened to me. I was not in a good situation. I was always praying to God, please help me. And all of a sudden, I met devotees. And then everything changed. So we have to, as a devotee is very, let's say, giving in knowledge, giving in food, and giving even in help materially to people to become Krishna conscious. Not bribing people to be Krishna conscious, but helping them to have at least the minimum things that are necessary to be Krishna conscious. So we're not buying people or giving people money to become Krishna conscious. But we are helping people who want to be Krishna conscious by having the Association of Devotees learning all about Krishna consciousness in the books of Srila Prabhupada, and also, taking part in festivals. A festival is joyous and is also full of wonderful things that you might never have by not being Krishna conscious. So the Hare Krishna devotees who have festivals, that makes everybody happy. And everybody has nice prasada, everyone's happy, everyone is looking forward to more festivals and so forth. So that is the culture of Krishna consciousness. It makes you happy. I know that's what I experienced when I joined Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
One small instance, Maharaj.
Yes.
I share. So last week I was traveling to Singapore for work purpose,
Okay.
and there is a place called Little India. There
Little India.
Little India.
Okay.
There are streets, shops, mainly owned by Indians, and they do all that. I think it was around 8:39, and it was very busy. Like, they had to close the shops and everything. And there I saw a small house which had Mahamantra written, and there were two Prabhuji sitting and serving free prasad. They had buckets, no temple, nothing, and just Mahamantra written, and they were serving free Krishna meals. And most of that street I saw were, Muslims, because I could see their, cap, skull cap, and all that. And still, it was, I could not imagine that even at this place, there will be not even a temple, but they, like you mentioned, serving prasadam. Selflessly, they were just, they had buckets packed of prasadam and they were selling.
And Muslims were eating.
Yeah, Muslims were also eating, and they were, without asking anyone, whosoever was coming, poor people, because they had to close down their shop.
Okay.
And they were all this.
That's what devotees do. They spread Krishna prasad.
Yeah.
Once people start eating halva, it becomes very, very interesting in becoming devotees.
We have been there, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have been there in the Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the temple. They have a Jain
Yeah,
mandir down,
Correct.
and upstairs is just one room with the just kitchen and entire open floor. And every week they do kirtan and serve the prasad.
Really?
So we went, we were like on the streets looking for food.
Yeah.
And we saw Prabhuji chanting. We just talked to him.
Yeah.
He said, just come. And we had enough prasadam. And every week they do that. They don't have temple. Right?
Really?
It's just a group of devotees. Every week they cook and serve. It's just a very, very small room, Maharaj.
Oh,
Just a few utensils and a small room. And they cook and serve. It's just a terrace on top of a floor.
Okay.
So, and Jain Mandir, they allow them to use it once a week. Their terrace.
Jai Jain. Yeah. Well, you see, even in the most, let's say, difficult situations, there's always a way of maintaining this. Haribol. Oh, Krishna Bhagavad Gita. Have a very good day. Don't worry about anything. And chant Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.